Valve has released a new update that honestly was pretty big for the economy of the game, but also they added retakes in. So I wanted to go through every map, every bomb site, and show you guys one thing that you could do on every bomb site per map that can improve your retakes. I'll also be showing some things that you can do on refrag.gg. Refrag is the premier training tool available for Counter-Strike 2 with over 20 different modes that train you at each aspect of the game, from aim to counter-strafing, utility, and so much more. If you want to use the training platform that me and so many other players use, then you need to check out refrag.gg. And now let's get back to the video. Starting off with a general tip of retakes is making sure that you're looking at what utility that you have and creating the most efficient plan possible to help your teammates out with it. And this seems super obvious, but there's always utility that people are not using, especially in Pugs, where they could have helped their teammate in some way. They could have made a very simple plan of, we're going to go together, I'm going to flash over for you guys, and we're going to just, peek off and get into the site. Parts of this is actually even thinking about what is the most efficient one molly, what is the most efficient one smoke that I can throw when I'm retaking a site. Let's start off with B, just for that very concept. If I have one of each utility, what am I going to use it for? 99% of the times you're going to be smoking the bomb, but on some maps it's just very hard to get into the site to even get to this position. So if you have one smoke, I would smoke off banana, because the way that you want to retake is you want to, of course, come from coffin and come from CT. You don't want to all just become from the same spot. There's just so many angles. It's such a strong site for the T's to defend against. You have to use something to get you into the site. If you have one Molotov, what would be the best? It could either be dark or it could be triple. But I'd say most of the times you're going to be wanting to molly triple. Reason being is it's very easy for you from CT and from coffins to be killing this guy that's going to be coming out. One flash, of course. Whether it's, you can be flashing a teammate through CT, just like let them know that it's coming on the right side. You can flash them in on the left side. There's even new flashes that you could be throwing through this window here. There's a flash that you could be throwing through here, but I don't want to be, just showing a bunch of nades. I want you to be thinking about what is the most efficient flash, where my teammates are going. I would say try to focus on this when you're going towards B. Now, tips when you're going to be retaking A. So A, also one of the hardest sites to retake in the game. I think just Inferno is just a very hard map in general to retake. When you're going A, I would try to give the same example of trying to make sure that you are coming from multiple directions as much as you can. And a very common thing that you'll see, one guy that's staying towards Moto, and two guys that are coming towards short. Usually what this guy Moto is doing when you have this type of configuration is he's just trying to make it look like that there's more than one guy here. And he's trying to put like a lurk smoke like this, because usually this is going to be smoked. So putting in this smoke so it looks like you're doing a retake where you're going to be flashing over, this guy's going to be going through like this, and everyone is kind of swarming. So you can have this retake. You can have 3 guys coming here or 4, depending on what kind of happened in this round, where you're smoking and you're kind of swarming really quickly. This works very well when you have good timing. If you have good timing and you can get close, where this kind of falters a little bit is when they firmly have the site. All the T's are in position. Now it's going to be a lot harder for you to just kind of brute force your way in like this. Instead, if you are going to be coming from majority Moto, then maybe you'd have to smoke like this, but then also you're kind of giving them something to play around. I would say try to have as many people coming from as many angles as possible. Be aware of somebody that's like hiding boiler or window that's going to be trying to backstab you or shoot you from the side. This is a very hard map. Use the utility that you can. If you don't have a lot of utility, honestly, for either site, you might even just have to save. I think that's kind of just how Inferno is. It's a very hard site to retake. If you don't have timing, if you don't have nades, very difficult. Starting off on Dust 2, everybody's favorite map. Let's talk about the A bomb site. One of the things that you're going to want to think about when you're retaking A is, do I have anybody from long? Because if you have somebody from long, then this makes it a whole different scenario. If you're able to go through long, then most likely they came through short. And if the T's came through short, that means that they are going to have everybody in this area. And the difficult part comes when they could potentially have anybody, in this position at green box. They can kill you guys that are coming from mid, trying to go up to short. They could block short with smokes, and if you don't have, any type of utility, if you don't have like the flash to be able to go through the smoke, it might get a little bit difficult. Ideally, you have 2 people long. If maybe let's just say that your opper, he got 1, maybe he got 2, and then he just falls back and he holds anybody that's like peeking top site or peeking towards Goose. That's the ideal scenario where this other player is going to be holding the long flank. And then instead of going short, you're going to be coming through CT. Some of the things that can help you get through CT, you can throw a smoke to help you get up, whether you want to throw it a little bit more up like this, and then it kind of helps you, push up here, give you some cover while you're going to bridge. It doesn't have to even be anything that specific. You can honestly even just throw like a right-click smoke, and you just have to make sure that you're clearing these angles as you go up. As these players here from long get close, then the CTs are also either coming through the smoke or they're taking these duels here at the same time. So you have this line where everybody's kind of fighting here all at the same time. It's one of the most basic ways of how you're going to be retaking A. If you don't have long, then that's where you either can make sure that you are retaking together at mid. You can even send somebody towards long and they could do like a late flank. And the key is going to be, splitting from CT and short, but the majority should be towards short, because if you're all coming through CT, and that's just kind of going to be true for every map, is when you're all coming from the same exact position, it's going to be easier for them. So coming from CT and short is going to be an easier retake than everybody through CT. Now moving on to the B side, one of the things that is actually very powerful is having a majority go through tunnels. And it's going to be for similar reasons towards A. When you're coming through majority tunnels, these are actually very good duels because most of the time when the T's are done planting and they're getting into their after plant positions, where are the very strong ones, right? It's going to be towards car, closet. Back plat is also very strong. This position is probably one of the go-tos. I think someone swiveling around this box, whether it's on the plat here or behind the box, anywhere in sight, these are all super strong positions. So if you're coming through door and window, which of course you can, it's going to be a little bit harder compared to tunnel. It's of course just a lot more comfortable for the T's to only have to worry about one direction you're coming from. So if you can ever split and go majority tunnels, then of course I think that you should try. If you aren't going to be sending anyone towards tunnels, then of course you can just be throwing, whichever flash that you want over towards the tunnels, whether it's over towards window or it's over towards the door. You're going to be trying to efficiently use your grenades. And the thing is with B is if you don't actually have a lot of nades, this is a very difficult bomb site to retake. That's why I think just adding this element of going tunnels when you can and time permits, it's going to be a lot easier, especially if you don't have a lot of nades. Because if you have to have a lot of nades, you need, molly for car, molly for back plat. If you have a molly for side, of course, it's going to be easier. So just try to add that to your gameplay and you might have some better results. Moving on to Mirage. Now, when you want to retake a site, the thing is of course, you're always going to be looking at what utility you have, try to get rid of the angles that you can, whether it's smoking palace, smoking ramp. If you have one smoke, you're pretty much always going to be smoking the bomb on most of the maps. Aside from using your utility efficiently, one tip that I definitely would recommend is retaking from a majority CT. And the reason why I'm going to be saying that is because most of the time, the T's, when they take A, they're going to be smoking right side. They might even smoke CT, but they're not always going to smoke CT. You're at minimum going to have this right side smokes. They're going to have to play close CT. So they're either going to be playing here or here. They can even be hiding here if they're, brazen enough and they think that this smoke's gonna last forever. If you put most of your pieces that are going towards CT, these duels are favorable for the CTs, especially because if you throw your flash from far, so if you look at the radar when I jump here, this is pretty much the max distance of when somebody can hear you throw a grenade pin. So as you can see, they cannot hear this nade being thrown. Everyone's going to be peeking together and you're going to be taking these duels. And this is going to be making it a lot easier because the T's, they're kind of forced into playing for CT. If they don't, then they're going to be in, just very tucked positions, tucked corners. They're going to be flushed out from fire if you have this molly. They can't play here anymore where they can, go around this box. If they're playing here, they can get spammed. So you're just limiting a lot more options when you're coming from majority CT. Moving on to the B side of the map. Again, I think that you should try to have as many people, splitting, flanking as much as you can. So if you have a strong opera on your team and he can punish any of these peaks from the T's, because how the T's are going to be playing this as when you guys are starting to come out here and you take any of the contact on any of these positions, you're gonna, let's just say you're gonna shoot someone from E-box, then maybe you're gonna have someone that's gonna be peeking from here, maybe someone's gonna be peeking from here, and if your opera can cover you efficiently, then this is gonna help a lot. And this is kind of the go together part that I am emphasizing here of how you're supporting each other. Even when you're coming out on these angles here, you can, go onto this little trash can here. You can like tuck into this as you're coming out, and you can have like a little bit of breathing room, as you're, taking all of these angles together. They want to make sure that you cannot come out this door, this window as much as they can. So as soon as you can get out here, then you are going to be in way better positions, because now it's a lot harder for them to peek off of each other, to like play, the super strong angles. Try to play this quickly if you can and cause a lot of chaos. Just throwing stuff that can kind of give you some space to work around, because as soon as you guys can get out here, then it's going to be easier compared to if they have all of this space and they can just play contact. You're most likely going to have to save. If you're B player, he's jump spotting. Okay, they start coming out and he smokes like this and he survives. This is going to give you so much more space when this guy's coming out here. Let's just say that this is smoked and that there's not an op posted. When he's coming out, you're going to have so much more space as rotating into this site compared to if they have all of E-box control, all of this. Moving on to Ancient, what I would say for this site is I don't think that there's one very easy way to do this. You're gonna need utility. I'd say this is one of the sites where you definitely need utility to be able to retake it well, and there's a lot of context that needs to be given. So if they have donut control and you're not able to actually clear this out with nades, then you would have to actually take this from majority CT. That is because donut is just very hard to clear. Even as a T, this is a very hard position to clear. If you don't have a molly for this, if you don't have, flash, they can kill you in so many different spots. And the CTs are typically not going to have a lot of this utility, especially the B players. The B players are always going to be mauling here. Sometimes they're going to be mauling for anti-rush. So the two B players already don't have Molotovs. Clearing out donut, if they fully have donut, is going to be super hard. Then you're going to be doing stuff like, flashing maybe for two teammates that are here, trying to kill this angle that's here, kill this guy that's at Brokey, at Big Box, and you're going to be using the nades that you can. This is where you're going to have to smoke the bomb, because they're going to be smoking here. And if you smoke donut off, you're just giving them very easy way to spam you. Now, if you have donut and you're able to come from CT and donuts, you can kind of even choose. Maybe you smoke A main here and you just make sure that you kill this guy. And you're coming from donut, you have all of this, they don't have re-smokes. If you have one smoke here, maybe it goes A main just to get rid of this angle. And now you have to just worry about, boost, box, brokey, temple. But I would try to just focus on, these few things depending on if you have donut or don't have donut. Talking about B on this map, now I actually want to talk about how the Ts are looking at afterplants. On B, the Ts are usually going to want to have either one of two spots. They either need this control, so this, backline control where this is smoked or this is smoked, whatever it is. They have short and long control. So that means that they pushed all the way. This is completely clear and they know it. So where are the CTs? The CTs are probably in cave, because usually this type of take looks like this, where they smoke cave and then they smoke deep CT and they push, they take all of this control. And the CTs, they can still win this. How the CTs would win this is they would, of course, come from cave and they would come from ramp majority. It's going to be very hard for them to come through CT. They are, 3-4 CT. You're probably going to have to save, because they're probably going to resmoke you and it's not going to be very fun. Now, what is one thing that you can do if you are coming from majority CT? Something that's very strong is actually smoking this off and then coming through short. And of course, you still have this cave guy. They can always kind of come behind when this happens, so it's pretty dangerous. So what I would try to stick to is when you have cave control, you're going very late CT and you're retaking majority through ramp and cave. This is just kind of a guideline, right? Because when the Ts are playing, they want to have some space. If they don't have cave, they don't have long and short, it's going to be hard for them. Now they can't play this angle, which is probably one of the best swivel positions in the game. Another spot that they can't play, which is one of the best swivel spots, is playing default, because now they can die to this angle. Now they can get spammed. So the Ts, they want some type of control. Now if they have the opposite control where they're cave, now you can kind of just take it normal. You can use your nades, whether you're going to be using a smoke to help you get into the site, whether you're smoking cave or ramp, and you're using mollies, whatever you can. This is all going to depend on what type of utility you have. Now, talking about nuke, when you're wanting to retake the A site, there's honestly not a lot of utility that's super strong. Like, there are some utility sets, like, smoking on top of this, just smoking door like this. Other than that, there's not really going to be that many, sick nades that you can throw. I think on this map, you're going to want to make sure that you come like as a majority from one side. If you have a smoke, trying to smoke door off. That's going to be one angle that's going to be very annoying for you to deal with. This is going to be getting rid of a lot of angles for your heaven players, also from you for main. You don't have to worry about it anymore. Something that's pretty standard is just having someone that's outside heaven throwing flashes for you. So if you have like 2 flashes and you can jump out with this, you kind of have to have people being a little bit sacrificial, making space as much as you can, because like I said, there's not going to be a lot of easy ways to retake A. It's kind of just going at the same time, making sure that you are using the utility if you can. If you don't have any utility, retaking A when they have fully everything is pretty much going to be impossible. But I'd say it's more about chaos when you're retaking A. That's kind of like the name of the game, causing chaos. Maybe you're throwing flashes from heaven and you're coming up through vent and coming out through main. For the B site, I think that there's a lot of ways that this can happen, and of course I think context is always really important. So if they came through secret, that means that they're probably gonna have all of control, they're gonna have vent, they're gonna have single. That means that you cannot easily go down the vent. The only way that you can go down the vent is off of something else happening. So you'd have to do this based off of the information that you have and off of something else happening. But I would say just in general, try to retake through ramp if they came through secret. If you went secret, then you're gonna play after your teammates started coming through U-Haul over here, because they're all just going to be posted on you. There's so many angles. It could be here, it could be here, it could be here. They could be peeking off of each other. So you're going to have to be going a little bit slow. Of course, you're going to have to use whatever utility that you have. Maybe you're going to be smoking here at the window. Maybe you're going to be Molotoving dark. Maybe you'll Molotov back sight. You have to use your utility based off of the information that you have. When you are retaking this, you have to use a smoke to help you get onto the site. There's just so many spots, especially if you're retaking like 4 guys ramp. And this can happen. You can retake 4 guys ramp. This is not like super crazy. I've seen teams do it and be successful with it. And they have like pretty much like a full exec on the bomb site. Now, if they came through ramp, now you can just kind of have like a normal retake. Now it's going to depend on context, where you could be coming through a lot of people's secrets and people can be going late through ramp. Maybe you have someone that's heaven, one guy that pushed lobby, and now these 2 are going ramp, 2 guys are going secret. Now you're going to have to just work together as much as you can and try to consolidate which side you're coming. Work together here, isolate the angles, try to clear out double as quickly as you can. There's not really going to be a one size fits all of what makes sense, because I think there's so much context that can happen with these rounds. On the A side of train, when you're going to be wanting to retake this, try to come from as many sides as possible. But what I would say is trying to retake from camera and hell. I think that these angles are so strong, because from the T side perspective, of course they have a lot of spots to play with, but it gets a lot harder for them, right? It gets a lot harder because they can be exposed from so many spots when you're seeing all of these sight lines. And if you're coming from hell, same thing, because I think people usually want to be playing from red, playing from pop, and if you can lock down any of these sight lines and you're coming from more people over here, then I think that it's just going to be a lot easier. I think that the difficult spots to deal with are actually here. This is very difficult to deal with if you're going to be coming from camera or from Ivy side. So make sure that you're clearing out this new angle as much as you can. I think that this is a map where you are going to be smoking on the bomb. I think there's so many sight lines that they could be playing from. They could be pretty much anywhere outside, and this could be a very strong position for them. So if they planted here, you're just going to be smoking on it, and your teammates are going to have to cover you based off of what has been open during the retake. But again, you don't want to be coming from majority any one spot when you can. I think it's going to be easier for you to be coming through camera, coming through Ivy, coming through Z. If you can be flanking, of course, that's amazing. I think that if you have a majority somewhere, I think it makes the most sense for it to be in this area, because when you're retaking, I think it's the thing that's the most uncomfortable for the Ts. There's so many ways that the Ts could have taken the site, so try to just keep that in mind of where people could be and tailor your nade usage to those facts. Now, for the B side of the map, I think that this is a very hard site to take, especially if they have all of the control. I think if they have like everything here, then you're kind of relying on the Ts to kind of throw it. Everybody gets locked out from this smoke here. And I think the key is not letting this happen. You don't want them to just have all of this for free and they can just pick any position that they like. They can go in all different spots to play off of each other on contact. So if you can ever play speed, I would try to play speed and try to get out of Z, trying to get into these different angles. Main tip I'm gonna say is try not to let them have all of this space for free. Aside from you abusing their smoke being a little bit puffy, you can also smoke it yourself, right? Like you can smoke like this. Of course, they can always be in these smokes. When you put down a smoke in an after plant like this, always be wary of a T trying to abuse that. Whether they sit in the smoke and wait for you to pass, maybe you guys are going to be, throwing some shots into the smoke. Always try to have somebody that's wary of somebody doing this, because it's very common. Everyone thinks that they are being super sneaky, but it's one of the most common plays. But if you let the T's take everything, it's just going to be impossible for you to retake, and you're going to just end up saving. For the last map on Overpass, we are going to start off with A. They have the site. You don't have anybody that's flanking. You're coming through CT. So coming from headshot and bank. This is a map that's very easy, honestly, for you to be getting really good trade kills together if you're coming out and you're peeking the same angles. You're making sure that you are clearing like this close-up corner. You're spamming this fence here. I'd say having majority bank, making sure that there's trades, because if the T's have all of this control, it's very common for them to be playing positions like this. They can, well, honestly, this isn't a very nice angle, but they might want to be pushing you into bank. So if the T's start trying to push into bank, then this is where you're going to want to make sure that you have trades. Somebody might be playing here in this corner, so you want to make sure that you're trading this guy. Maybe somebody peeks from truck right afterwards. What's going to be important here is, one, smoking the bomb. I think that if they are planted for dice and you don't have a smoke for the bomb, unless you're killing them all instantly and you just get into a super advantageous position where you're 3v1 and everybody can just focus on the guy that's peeking banana or in bathroom, it's going to be really hard for you to win. So if you don't have a smoke for the bomb, I think it's already really hard. One thing that I think that you should try to do is try to kill this guy that's close long, because this is a very strong position. People usually try to play on this close wall, and they'll try to play timing peaks when things are happening. So if you clear this guy that's close long, then now all you have to worry about are these angles in banana. And what you're going to want to do is you either play on top of dice here on default and you play over the smoke while you're covering the planter, or you guys are actually pushing onto these angles and making sure that they can't just get free spams onto the diffuser here. And this is a very common situation that happens. Now, retaking B, difficult as always. Let's go on the assumption that they are not pushed towards CT and they have all this control. So if you're able to actually get out here and you are able to have a majority CT retake, this is going to be the thing that's most standard. Of course, you can always have somebody that's flanking. We won't really discuss that with this tip specifically. I would say that your focus should be going from majority CT, and the heaven guy is usually going to be playing late. He's going to be playing late because most of the time he's going to be smoked off. If he isn't getting smoked off, now you can actually have two guys in heaven if you want, and they're going to be playing off of how the CTs are coming out from lower here. The first couple angles are going to be difficult to get through if you don't have nades. So if you have a Molotov, I think that Molotoving towards the pit here is going to be helping you so much. Even at short, one little tip is this shadow is actually pretty big. And you can see this shadow even through this little gate. And what you're looking for when you're coming out through CT is you're looking for somebody to make a mistake. So when you're coming at graffiti, if people don't give you any kills here, then it might be a little bit difficult. But what that means is they're probably playing off of somebody's contact in pit, and they're going to be playing off of that. Either you're going to be going with a flash, so you're going to be throwing like a flash in pit, or you throw, I'm not sure exactly what the most optimal flash is. Usually I was flashing like in pits here, and we would just be going with it. Because you don't really have to turn with these flashes. But if you don't have like something to go off of, that's where you're looking for mistakes, and somebody kind of just has to be kind of a sacrificial lamb where he's just going for all these angles and just hoping for the best, hoping that he plays right, because this is going to be 50-50 angles that I look left, oh, he's actually here. I looked right, oh, unfortunately, like he's here or here or here, any of these off-angle positions. And Heaven has to kind of wait. Heaven is just trying to pick off anybody else that makes a mistake. If they make a mistake at pillar, at default, otherwise, he wants to try to play off contact, because this is a very common position that people play. They'll hold heaven, and as soon as they start coming out, they play off of the contact and they peek. So this is kind of what your heaven guy is going to want to be doing. As soon as you actually take this pick control, things get much easier, and now it looks like, you know, a standard retake. I'm on the bomb site on any other map. Again, you want to be smoking the bomb. You don't want to be smoking short. You're giving them free, you know, sight lines to just spam. Whereas if you smoke on the bomb, now you can actually, you know, cover him either with body blocking. As soon as he starts spamming, then you peek. So you have more options for this. The most common angle that people will play when they play monster is to play tucked here, and this is a advantageous position for the T's unless you're hard pre-firing, because technically they could be here, technically they could be here, and they can be here. So if you have a flash, that's probably the best thing that you can do in this situation where you're going to be flashing this guy, or just making sure that you're hard clearing. If you're limited on people or limited on time, then you might have to just play for the taps. You'll have to play for the tap and just see if he comes out. Now, talking about refrag, we do have, you know, our own retakes mode that you can play with your friends. If you just go into, you know, any of the mods, you go onto the website and you just type in retakes, then you can just play retake mod like any other community server. And another mode that we have that you can play by yourself is called Challenger. It's pretty much simulating you going through you know, retake situations on different maps where people are going to be over peeking you, you're going to be clearing different angles, they're going to be playing on contact, there's going to be smokes and nades that are being thrown. So when you're playing Challenger, you're always feeling like, you know, you are playing, you know, challenging bots that are shooting back at you, that are punishing you for your mistakes. And I think that this is something that's, you know, just something that you can add to, you know, your own gameplay. So those are my tips for you guys to improve your retake on every single map, on all the different sites. Let me know if you guys enjoyed that, and if there's anything specific that you guys would like to see from me, whether that's more demo reviews or, you know, tips like this, let me know in the comments. Make sure you check out Refrag and use code Elige3 for a 3-day trial. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you guys so much for watching.